Hi, this is Fred with Quality One Engravers. I'm going to show you how to set up the drivers for the Q3X and the Q3D controller. Actually, some of the very old Q3Xs will need a different driver, but virtually all of them are going to be this vintage. I just opened up EngraveLab and I'm going to click on Engrave and Engraving Defaults. This is the selected drivers that you have available. But we're going to go directly over to setup. If you're only doing metal, or if you're not doing braille, you can just delete this driver and say yes. If you are doing braille, that's fine. What I like to do is I like to delete all my drivers except for the standard, and then I set up my table properly and my port properly, and then I duplicate this. You could make any driver be braille or any driver be regular or metal. So here's my Q3X standard. Let's say that your table is a 12 by 24. So I'm going to put 24 by 12.1. And always make your machine limits a little bit bigger than your table size. You could conceivably make this 48 by 48 or 100 by 100. But the program does not like you making the plate size bigger than your machine limits. I don't really know the reason why. Anyways, I have this Q3X standard. I click on the word port, direct to port, and I usually set this one up as COM1. My typical default is 57600. Some people like to run at 115-200. And this you'll see on your pendant on line number 2. If it says a 115K, then you're running at 115-200. If it's 57K, of course, it's obviously 57. And then it goes N81 and hardware. And up here, if I click on apply, you'll see it goes 115-200, N81, and then P is short for hardware. Don't ask me why. So we're on COM1. And don't worry, you don't have to go into your control panel to change these settings. EngraveLab will automatically take care of it. So I'm going to just click on apply and OK. And another thing I like to always have is I like to have the output tool paths checked. So you check it, and I always have output tool paths and also cut contour paths. Tool paths are just as when you apply a tool path to something. Also cut contours, that's a box that you drew, a shape, something that you brought in, or just plain text that you type. And then you're usually going to have XY move at 0, smoothing high, sign plate and selected, and it's a 2.5D engraver. So if you click on setup, you can click here and you can create a custom copy, and maybe you want Q3X metal MTL, and then you say OK. Then you have to click on it. It will already have the settings and the ports all set up for you. But the one thing you may want to do if you're cutting metal is go to your tool options. And in your tool options for cutting metal, whereas plastic engraving might be at 1.25, you might be at 0.2 for, say, stainless steel, and maybe you might be at a 0.1 Z feed rate for it. And then you can say OK. Now, one thing I didn't tell it to do was apply before, so I'm going to do it now. 0.4, click on apply. If I go to this one, I've got to change this one to 4 and also tell it to apply. So now both of them should be. So this one should be at the 115-200. This engraver would also be at the 115-200. And I just had forgotten to check that apply button. So if you're running stainless steel, probably you'd be on metal, and the tool options are going to be about 0.70 clearance, should be good. Feed rate of 0.1 inch per second, and XY feed rate of 0.2. Be careful with the auto start. You can turn this to 1 or 0. If you're on auto start, the moment that you send the job over, it will start running. So if you know what you're doing, you can turn this on, but it also is sometimes will get you in trouble. If you happen to be making a braille engraver, the only thing you have to do is click on the braille drill, and usually I add much more clearance, sometimes as much as 0.3 inches. So if I wanted to make this a braille driver, just click on braille, make this 0.3, change your XY feed rates to something a little faster, and click OK. But I'm going to leave it as is because this is going to be my metal driver. And then apply and OK. And then apply and close. So now if I type something in, or I have something to engrave, I select it, go to engrave, output, and right here I have what driver I'm using, either standard or metal, and if you're doing stainless steel, you'd use the metal one, or SST, whatever you named it. These three little dots right here will allow you to change the clearance and your feed rates. I always recommend that you start off slow and start moving up until you don't get the results that you want, and then you move back down. Hope that works for you. And then of course, to get it to engrave, all you do is just click here.